Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Brisker.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Chevy Drives Chicago, the official truck partner of your Chicago Bears.
It's the beginning of the Final Four, the last month of games for the 2025 regular season, and up first, the 3-10 Cleveland Browns. We break down the last matchup in the rugged AFC North in advance of Sunday's bitterly cold noon kickoff. With Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. We discussed today in episode 194 of the Bears Etc. podcast, and this episode of Bears Etc. is brought to you by ChevyDriveChicago.com, the official truck of your Chicago Bears. Coming up, we visit with Hall of Fame left tackle Joe Thomas, the now retired Cleveland Brown, and we listen in to Caleb Williams at the podium on Wednesday up at Hallis Hall. What is a walkthrough day for the Bears? Tom, good to have you alongside, getting ready to bundle up, man. Bundle up. Chicago Bear weather.
Just promise me for the first time in your 25 career as a play-by-play announcer that you'll wear a hat. I was discussing it with certain family members. They don't want to turn the TV on and see you without a hat, so you got to promise me that.
I promise. I promise. That's going to be a little much, and I'm getting older, so yeah. You're wearing a hat now indoors, so yeah. I'll have to do that. But that is a topic. Every player is getting asked these questions. But you got to use it to your advantage. I mean, Cleveland plays in that weather as well. They play in snowstorms. They're like Buffalo. It's not far down the road, so they're used to it. Maybe individual players aren't as used to it. The starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns right now, Shedeur Sanders, has played some snow games in Colorado. So even though he's from Florida, he's experienced that as well.
You know, the Bears players, coaches, they're aware of what the conditions are going to be. They walk around in it every day. And wisely enough, Ben practices these guys outdoors. So you do grow accustomed to it. Is it comfortable? No. But you do grow accustomed to it in the sense of what every football player does.
I like the notable games that Kevin Byard talked about at the podium on Wednesday. He had 1 degree a game in Kansas City, 19 below wind chill, the AFC title game in Kansas City, maybe some other single-digit games, but he says he doesn't think about it when he's playing. But pregame, getting ready, the TV timeouts, you start to feel it. How did you, as a player, deal with some really extravagant weather over the course of your career?
You know, you kind of wear a sideline jacket when you're off the field. We didn't have the real sophisticated heated benches that they do now. So, you know, once your body gets warmed up, once you get that second type of sweat going, you kind of stay into that, you know, throughout the whole game. You don't take your helmet off. You move around as much as possible. The 3-minute timeout, you just stand up there and you probably got stuff that you need to discuss with the guys that you're working with. So you just don't let it sit there and go, oh my God, this is freezing and I can't, you know, it's just not something you pay attention to.
Tom, 3 or 4 at home. How significant is it right now for this Bears team trying to win those few games they need to get in the playoffs?
Well, you listen to Ben at the podium. He calls it how desperately they need this game. And that's a strong phrase to use because I just think that, as badly as the Bears need to win this game and want to win this game, you know, it's just, I think, a process of the continued improvement. And, you know, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it, is you got to see that light at the end of the tunnel, and that P word has to infiltrate your thought. And if you're going to think about the playoffs, then you got to win this football game.
Bears fans, gear up at the Pro Shops at Soldier Field, your home for officially licensed jerseys, headwear, hoodies, and more. Open daily near the Veterans Memorial water wall. The Pro Shops at Soldier Field, a Fanatics experience. Well, before we get to our guest, let's listen in to Caleb Williams at the podium. He was well thought out today. Very interesting conversation about a lot of things, but beginning with the ball in his hand and the clutch moment, the game on the line, it's important to him.
There's not another moment, another player, another situation in those moments. I feel like the ball should be in my hand, and that's how I felt as a kid. That's how I still feel today. That's how I felt on Sunday in that moment, and so I feel great. It kind of goes to the MJ quote where he missed how many game winners, and the Kobe where he took the game winner, and tried to versus the Jazz and all of them back then. It's like, you're going to take those shots, and that's the type of mindset I have, that I'll take those shots, and I'll roll with the punches if I do miss, and that's what happened. And so you move on from it, and when that moment comes up again, I think 9 times out of 10 that I'll hit. And so it's my mentality. That's how I feel about it, and just got to give Cole a better ball in that moment. But other than that, roll with the punches if it doesn't roll your way.
Your Heisman year, you guys won or lost one game all year. What do you remember about the feeling of every week kind of turned into like a playoff game? And is there anything instructive there for what you can do, or for this year and what you guys have in front of you?
I think every year is a learning experience for obviously that year, but also future years for yourself as a player. And so whether it's college or pro, you do learn things from those type of years. And so just understanding that each week is its own week, understanding that you go 1-0 and the week that you're focused on, the team that you're focused on, it propels you in a very positive way to put you in position to be exactly where you want to be at the end of the year.
You faced a lot of good pass rushers this year. How does Max Crosby, Micah Parsons, all those guys prepare you for the challenge of Myles Garrett?
Yeah, obviously he's right there at the sack record, almost there at the sack record. And so going to try and make sure that he doesn't get the sack record on us and on me. But, I think those games have prepared, the offensive line, us as a game plan, and going versus those type of players where they're just, they're the S tier players where you just got to, make sure every single snap, every single play, everything is not allowing them to wreck the game. That's something that he can do. That's something that he's done throughout his whole career. And so, we're excited for the challenge. We're excited for this week. We're excited to try and get back in the win column.
Caleb, how does he win so much at the line of scrimmage, and what are the communication points for you?
Yeah, he has a as the kids say, is a deep bag of tricks, and whether it's his Euro step, his speed, his off the ball, they'll put him at the linebacker area and let him just kind of do his thing, and so it's he's, like I said, he has a deep bag of tricks, and it's going to be a good challenge for us as an offense, us as an offensive line, and running backs, everybody accounts for him, and everybody else in that field. So, like I said, he has a deep bag of tricks, and when somebody is well polished as he is throughout the NFL, and throughout his years in NFL, that's what makes him that's what makes him Myles Garrett.
Caleb, through 13 games this season, are there one or two things that you specifically want to get better at within the game?
Yeah, starting faster for myself, and then the other one would be, some of these, like, I'm doing the right things, and then at the last bit of it, it's something's off, and it's either a miss or incompletion, or something just not on the same page, or so that's the area that I really want to get on the same page with the guys, and then from my side of it is doing everything right, and then you miss, and so it's just sharp focus, and sharpening my focus even more, and just making sure, starting fast and having that sharp focus from the beginning.
What is the key to starting fast? I mean, everybody talks about it. Is it something that you can practice?
Yeah, something you can practice, but also something I think just like I keep using these analogies and references and stuff, but it's just like, sometimes just seeing the first basket go in and getting your first completion, and just kind of seeing the the pass being caught, whatever pass it is, whether it's a deep shot, a intermediate, short, whatever it is, just finding that first completion and getting into your receiver's hands or tight ends or whatever, and letting them go to work.
Caleb, you talked a lot about you and Ben being a long-term partnership. What are you seeing in this first year that feels like a really good foundation for years to come? Not just what's working now, but things that you think you guys will be able to apply next year and beyond.
Yeah, I think some of the communication we have. I mean, we're with each other every single day at this point, damn near, and so it's us, our communication, open communication, us having talks about family. Us, I think it's just the bond that we're building throughout this. Is what will help us grow, together, but also as an offense. And so, that's one. And then I think just the details that, this offense takes. It's going to take, a little bit more than a year or so, to be able to kind of get on his level of communication, to where, I can go and speak to the guys and, everything's aligned between him and I, and we're basically saying the exact same thing. So that when he speaks to the guys, when I speak to guys, when the wide receiver, when the tight end coach, everybody, that it's all aligned in one, and it all makes sense when we all speak. And so I think that's a part of it. And then I think just the details for me, the details that and the discipline that he shows and that we've been trying to harp on throughout this time here so far. So I think those are the three things I would say.
Early on in that relationship, when you were talking about goals, but then what were the discussions about playoffs and how to manage that mentality?
Yeah, I think the playoff mentality, the championship mentality, that's what we, that's where we want to be. That's where you want to be every year. That's you don't go into a year, whether it's your first year or 10th year, you don't go into a year not thinking about that. So that's one. And then, managing those expectations, or, managing, actually being possibly in that position, or whatever the case may be, or being in that position, that's going to take experience. That's going to take, trusting in him. That's going to take, us just trusting the process.
As a quarterback, what is the process of assessing extreme cold and then finding your groove within it, knowing what you're going to be facing this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I've played in some cold games already here, and I've played in cold games before. I believe that weather and elements don't bother me, and so just being able to get warm, get my body warm, and then go out there and deliver good balls to my guys and let them go make plays.
At the end there, talking about he's not concerned about the weather. He says weather and elements don't bother me. He gets his body warm. He was mic'd up for the Giants game. He's trying to get his pads going, getting them loosened up. So that's important, obviously, for the quarterback to feel and work through that.
It's funny because when a quarterback talks about having the ball at the end of the game, they always analogize Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and these guys that are in that stratosphere of superstardom that we all would hope to be in someday in whatever sport that we pick. And I'm glad Caleb doesn't shy away from that moment, because to me, I believe he should have the ball in his hands as well. He's versatile, he's creative, he's athletic, he's in great shape, and all those things that you need a quarterback to be. He is that. I
tell you, and he's quite serious about it. You can read it on his face. You see him at the end of games when there's a camera on him. It's all business. He's locked in, and he rises to those occasions. Talked about what he needs to do to get better, starting faster, the offense starting faster, and getting those throws that he seemingly feels right about that just don't end the way he wants.
Yeah, but I think that's the progression of a quarterback that's playing the first year inside the system. And the more you learn it, the more you know it. Even Ben said, and I bring it up all the time, if he has 10,000 reps, he needs 1 million more. And, I guess that may be an exaggerated number, but in terms of the development of perfection from the quarterback inside of a system, every single rep you have is helpful. And so all the learning process that he's going through the course of the regular season, he's going to be able to perfect this throughout time in this system.
So many things to discuss about the matchup. We'll do it on the other side of our interview with Joe Thomas, the Hall of Fame offensive tackle, kind enough to join us. Here's our combo. Well, as you continue on here on Bears, etc., episode 194, Bears and Browns. We've been having a lot of quarterbacks. Thought, you know what? The Bears offensive line is killing people right now. So it's time to get an offensive line on here for my buddy Tom Thayer, the Super Bowl winning Bears guard. We got Hall of Fame tackle Joe Thomas, one of 23 enshrined to the Pro Football Hall of Fame from the Cleveland Browns franchise, with legends like Jim Brown and Paul Brown, the coach, Otto Graham, Leroy Kelly, many others. And happy belated birthday, 41. It's your first week as a 41-year-old, Joe. How's it feel?
Oh, man, life is totally different. It's completely changed. My 4 kids, 12, 11, 10, 7. All of a sudden, they're nice to me. They're picking up after themselves. They're not fighting anymore. It's just amazing. It's like everybody turned over a new leaf in my house.
You know, Big Joe, they got Phillip Rivers going for a tryout, and he just turned 44. Just think you could sit at home for another 3 years and then come back for a left tackle performance for a year, a season, or a half a year.
Yeah, that's actually my plan. So I'm going to keep getting fat and lazy for another 3-4 years here, and then be rolling me back out there at about 300 pounds. But the 300 is going to look a little different than it did when I was playing at 45.
Yeah, no question. Tom was telling me a story because Tom played for Miami for one season after the Bears with Coach Shula, and Steve DeBerg was one of the quarterbacks there backing up Dan Marino. Did you guys live on a boat or something for that 4 months? Yeah.
Yeah.
But then Tom sends me a text today. DeBerg did. What year was that, Tom? With the Falcons.
It was, so I played with Steve DeBerg in 93, and then he took 4 years off and then came back at the same age and played a year with the Atlanta Falcons. So it's not unprecedented, but it's not a common occurrence either.
Yes.
Considering I retired at 34, to wait 10 years and come back at 44 would be quite an accomplishment.
Joe, I retired at 33. Why did you retire?
You know, the aches and pains and the cartilage was starting to go pretty bad, but really it was my knee. My left knee as a left tackle was always kind of tucked up underneath myself.
Yeah.
And the cartilage on the outside of my left knee was gone. And the doctor said, basically, there's nothing else we can do. We took everything out we could take out. Now you're just bone on bone. And I think I only practiced 2 or 3 times my last season in the NFL just because I couldn't even go watch practice because I couldn't stand on the legs. So the joints were fairly beat up, although the mind was willing to keep playing. But everything else was just starting to be a little bit too much. I actually got my hip replaced last spring. So those things add up as you get older. And it seems like it progresses faster, too. It's not like one game is the same at 22 as it is when you're 32.
Yeah, well, I have both hips and a knee already. So, you know, they always talk about you playing consecutively over 10,000 snaps. And that's not somebody can give you. It's just the commitment to yourself. You know, how did you convince yourself to get on the field for that next snap when sometimes that was as hard to do as actually getting ready, you know, for the latter stages of your career?
Well, I think it's about a commitment to more than just like yourself and your own standard and your values, which I think are really important. You know, those are things that I got from my parents, things that growing up as a kid playing a bunch of different sports, you know, I just never got injured, never came out. So it never really crossed my mind about, hey, am I too injured to go? Like the idea was always you get up and you keep playing. And then I think in the NFL, like the brothers that I played with, I had so much love for them. And knowing that when I'm out there, I'm probably doing a better job than the guy behind me. And so they're counting on me to be out there to help them. And so I always really felt that commitment, that accountability to those guys around me, not just the offensive linemen, the tight ends, the running backs, the quarterback who's counting on me to protect his blind side. And his wife is counting on me to protect his blind side as well. So like my wife, being friends with that wife is always, you know, hey, we better keep old Josh McCown standing up this week because his wife is counting on him to come home for Christmas. So, you know, it was just all those little things I think that a team really builds, that love, that brotherhood, that commitment, that accountability to each other, that just, it never crossed my mind until the day that my tricep tore when, well, I can't lift my arm up and straighten it. So I guess I can't play anymore. But I always knew that when I was playing that I would know exactly when it was time to be done or when I couldn't take another snap because the injury would be so severe. You can't. You know, it wasn't going to ever be a question mark in my mind if I was laying there whether I was going to get up because I was always going to get up if I could.
How do you tell a cashier you're a Bears fan without telling them you're a Bears fan with the Chicago Bears PNC Bank Visa debit card, which gets you exclusive discounts on Bears merchandise. Find out more at pnc.com/BearsCard. So Tom Thayer was trained by several unbelievable coaches from high school through college and in the NFL with a Hall of Famer, offensive lineman and a former MVP in the league, believe it or not, Dick Stanfield back in the day for those 85 Bears. Fundamentals and technique and some nastiness were all a part of the equation. What was yours? Who was your mentor? Who was your key coach that got you to play a very consistent brand of ball throughout your entire career?
So George Warhop was the offensive line coach that I had for the bulk of my career. I think he came in maybe my third season, and I want to say I had him for 7 years or so. So he was really a big part of kind of my development as an offensive lineman. I always kind of had a different technique. So a lot of the technique that I had, especially with my own pass protection, was sort of trial and error that I developed myself through being a shot putter growing up, being a glide shot putter. But I think the mentality of being an offensive lineman and the understanding of the commitment it takes, the hard work, the preparation, that really came by and large from George Warhop. But I had a guy, Bob Wiley, at the end of my career who coached for the Bears, coached a bunch of years in the NFL. He was another guy that was influential to me. Not exactly where I was in my career because he was just there my final season, but he was so good understanding the mind and how your brain learned and how different players learn differently, and being able to coach to those different players and helping you see the game in a different perspective. And so I took a ton away from him, and that wisdom that I got from him actually is what I'm using as I'm coaching my own kids now. And I coached in Munich, Germany last year in the European League of Football over there. And a lot of his philosophy and his mindset were the things that I was teaching my players. So those two guys really are the two that come to mind first when I think about guys that were really influential in my career while I was playing, and then now kind of how I see the game of football.
How'd the Munich thing come about?
So I was over there working the very first NFL Munich game, doing TV and radio. And my wife and I had always talked about a great opportunity, if it ever came up, to go live abroad, to take our kids overseas. She lived in London when she was a kid and talked about how amazing that was and her growth and development and her bond with her family. And so I always kind of had it in the back of my mind. And when I was over there, I bumped into the commissioner of the ELF and said, "Hey, Munich's a pretty cool city. You got any space for me to coach over here?" And he's like, "Absolutely." So he put me in contact with their general manager and then their ownership. And it took about a year to put together, but we made it happen. And it was just an incredible experience.
Hey, Joe, to put on 3 different hats as a player, as a broadcaster, as a coach. So I've had the chance to play against Reggie White, and I could tell you how to block Reggie White, but it doesn't necessarily mean you could do it. And that's the same way I look at Myles Garrett. As a coach, as a broadcaster, as an ex-player, if you're giving someone advice how to block Myles Garrett, how would you go about, that advice?
Good luck. Hoping you got a double team. Right. No, so I was at the Dallas the offensive line masterminds this summer in Dallas, and they had me give a presentation on breaking down some of the pass rushers that I'd gone against. TJ Watt, Myles Garrett was one of them, and I gave him the best advice, but I said, this is not exactly a cheat code because he's still going to win. Like, he's so good at everything he does. But I think the thing that's probably most important when I think about Myles is you got to be square, at least for me. Some guys aren't square players. Me, I was always a square player. So I wanted my shoulders square to the line of scrimmage because I felt that would help me take away the inside rush. Because as soon as you start turning your shoulders, when they make that inside move, which Myles is so good at, I mean, he was going against one of the greatest of all time, Trent Williams, a couple weeks ago in Cleveland. I was watching that game, and he gave that 1 foot in the ground crossover where he's got his right foot in the ground and he crosses over and makes an inside move. And he made it so quick that Trent didn't even recover to put a finger on him.
Right. That was the Euro step with Kittle coming over too. And it's like 2 ships passing in the night.
It was amazing. Yeah. I mean, they had a double team. So Trent knows, like, hey, I can lose to the outside because I got help there. But he still got beat to the inside because Myles is so quick. So I think square is really important. I would try to take the space away from him, honestly. I would try to jump set him, short set him as much as I could, because you don't want to let him get going, because where he's the most dangerous is when he gets ahead of steam and then he turns it into a bull rush, or he gets ahead of steam and then he tries to turn that corner. Because I think the thing that he does better than anybody in history is his ability to turn that corner, because he's got this amazing ankle flexibility where when he puts his full foot in the ground, so his cleats are all digging into the grass, he's able to turn his ankle over the top of that foot where the shin is like 30 degrees angle with the ground. So he's propelling himself basically almost at a 90-degree angle from the direction where he's running, which allows him to turn that corner really hard. And he's so low when he does that. That's the move that I don't know if you could stop it. So if you can short set him, if you can jump set him with square shoulders, try to take that away from him, try to disrupt some of that timing, that's probably your best bet. But as soon as you start doing that, of course, you're jumping a guy. Now you're giving yourself up to those quick Euro step inside move.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in short setting a guy like Reggie White. Try to stop his momentum before he gets his momentum going. It's the same thing. I'm a big believer in coming out of a 3-point stance to keep my leverage low rather than giving him the advantage of being in a 2-point stance where you're already up high. And I don't know. It's a different maker. I've always admired Myles Garrett since the time he's came in the league and what he's been able to accomplish up until this point. It's just, being an ex-offensive tackle and having a lot of interest in that team. It must be fun to have gone against him, but also learn a lot about his style at this time of his career.
It was a lot of fun. So when he was a rookie, it was my final season. Like I mentioned, I didn't practice a whole lot at that time in my career, but I still got a few reps against him. And even then, I knew he was going to be special. I mean, the things that he did as a rookie were better than most guys that you see at the Pro Bowl or at the All-Pro level even back then. But it was actually a blessing for me a little bit. And I'll let him decide if it was a blessing for him or not. But I got hurt halfway through that year. And then I just stuck around the team, and I would help out with the O-line. I'd come out and coach those guys, which I love doing. But I spent a lot of time with Myles, and I would write him a game plan and a scouting report each week against the tackle he was going to go against. I would say, all right, here's what he likes to do. This is what he does best. These are his weaknesses. And then here's the moves that I think would be best to go against this guy, right, to take advantage of his weaknesses. And then I would say, to set these moves up, I would work on these things earlier on in the game, kind of just trying to get him to think the way I would be thinking from an offensive tackle's perspective. So it was fun for me to kind of see him grow and give him some things to work on during a game. And then you'd see him in a game, just like a coach. It's like your kid going out there and doing what you asked him to do finally for the first time. It's such a great joy and such a fun thing to do, especially when you're coaching a guy that can do anything that you asked him to do, right? It's not like I'm saying, hey, do this or that. They just can't do it. Like he could literally do anything he wanted.
Introducing Cruz Blanca, a line of Mexican-American premium cervezas. Cruz Blanca, Cerveza Refreshed. Proud partner of the Chicago Bears. Joe Thomas, our guest. Joe, who gave you the most trouble in your NFL career?
So I would probably say Dwight Freeney was the guy that when I think about, all right, who's the guy I was most nervous for? Who's the guy that the first time I faced him, I thought he got the best of me? And I would say that was Dwight because he had that upfield speed rush, that chop and that rip that was really good. He was a lot faster than people gave him credit for. I mean, he was like a 4'5", 4'6" guy at 280 pounds. He was pretty short. So he was like 6'1". Obviously, everybody knows about the spin move, which him and Robert Mathis did it better than anybody else. So his ability to just beat you quickly and make you whiff when he spins to the inside was incredible. But going into the games that I played against him, I always thought, as long as I don't lose to the spin move, I'll feel like I've had a successful game. Well, the first time I played against him, I was sitting so hard on the spin so many times that by the end of the game, he kept spinning. It didn't work. He just ran me over and got a sack in the fourth quarter because he's like, hey, you're sitting so soft. Screw this spin move. I'm going to just run you over. So then the next time I faced him, I said, all right, I need to be prepared. I need to have a better game plan than just take away the spin at all costs. So I knew I still had to take away the spin, but I wanted to take away some space. So I tried to gain a little bit of width in the pocket with a little bit more of an angle set, just being a little bit more firm and lower in my set. It takes away some of your speed getting back when you are lower, but it gives you more anchor when they do bull rush you. And I had one of the best games of my career the second time I played him. So I feel like I made some progress and I at least got him back for getting me the very first time we played each other.
I thought Bruce Smith had an unbelievable inside spin move as well throughout his career. But I remember the first time John Tierlink, their defensive line coach in Indianapolis, was a really good friend of mine. And we are sitting outside the locker room one time, and he said, hey, Robert, come here. So he introduced us to Robert Mathis. And he goes, this is going to be my next all-pro defensive end. And I'm kind of looking at him, Joe, like, God, this guy's the size of a middle linebacker. And he went on to have a career like Dwight Freeney, the inside spin, the pass rushing, guys that they were so dominant at throughout their career. So it's, you see the difference in packages, whether it's a Reggie, whether it's a Myles or Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis. So you better be ready for a little of everything, especially when you play the offensive tackle position as well as you did and as long as you did.
That's the thing. If you're a defensive end and you're a little guy they can find you a big slow guy to go rush against. Hey, go rush on the other side. If you're left tackle, you got to take all comers, right?
Yeah.
You got to be ready for Reggie White at 6'6", 300. You got to be ready for Robert Mathis at 6'1", 225, running a 4.4 off the edge. So you got to be the jack of all trades, and you got to be the master of all of them too, because if not, they're going to pick on you. They're going to find that weakness and they're going to spam it.
Joe, great players don't always play on great teams. And you had a one winning season. That was your rookie year. You probably thought, okay, we're just getting started here. And I look at Myles Garrett in that same situation. We've had plenty of players come through here in Chicago with a similar situation. How did you deal with that over the course of time? I know you're an unbelievable team guy first. You've known many people who know you. Explain that to me. But did it become challenging at times mentally? And is that the case sometimes for a great player like Myles Garrett who wants to win?
It is challenging, right? I think early on in my career, I played for Romeo Crennel, who was Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick disciple. Then I played for Eric Mangini. Same mantras, right? Do your job. Don't worry about the guy next to you. Just worry about what you have to do. Trust that he's going to do his job, all those things, which those are really helpful because it helped me after my first season where we had a winning record and then we never had another winning record for 10 years of just like focusing on, all right, what are the things I can control? Because that helps the mental side of the game. Like if I'm thinking about all these other things that I don't have control over, one, it's going to give me that like wandering, lost feeling of hopelessness, especially when you're losing, but also then you're distracting from what I can do to actually help my team win. So that was great. And it really kind of became who I was. I never looked at the scoreboard. I was never watching the defense. A lot of times I'd come to the sideline, sit on the bench, put a towel on my head, close my eyes. I would meditate. I would work on my breathing and focusing on, all right, what was the series that I just played? What do I have to do next? Just really dialing in on the mindset side of things so I could always be at my best. But it still broke me down. By the end of my career in year 10, we were embarking on a 1-in-15 season at the time. And every week to be at your best, I think as a competitor, you have to build a roadmap to a victory, right? In your mind, just like a fan, you want to have some roadmap to believe that I should watch the game because we're going to win or we have a chance to win. And I think I got to the point midway through my 10th season where I kept doing that, and we were going to play the Patriots. And I hated Brady. I hated Belichick. I wanted to smash them. They were coming in, and I thought we had a great game plan. I was sure that we were going to shock the world and we were going to beat them. And sure enough, we come out there. Instead of playing the defense we expected, they're running a 6-1, which takes away our duo blocking scheme, which is what we were best at, right? Because now you don't get any double teams. And they smashed us like 30-0. And I remember going out to the car after the game. I got ice on both elbows and both knees. And I'm in the car with my wife, and I'm just like breaking down. I'm like crying, and she doesn't say anything as we're driving home. And finally, she's like, "Are you okay? What happened? Did you have a bad game? Did you give up some sacks?" And I looked at her, and I was just like, "Babe, I played a perfect game. Like I didn't have one mental mistake. I didn't have my eyes in the wrong place. I didn't have foot placement in the wrong spot. I didn't give up a pressure, a sack, nothing. Couldn't have done anything differently, and we lost by 30 points. Oh. And it was like that first time that helplessness just really sunk in. And so I ended up going and talking with the Browns psychologist for a few sessions, and he really kind of helped me get perspective and just get grounded again and focus on, all right, what are the details I can control? How can I help these guys around me become better and feel that we're getting 1% better every day and not worry so much about what's happening on the scoreboard at the end of the day? And so that was really helpful, but it is hard. And I feel for a guy like Myles, who this offseason had said he wants to go play for a winner, ended up coming back because he believed in the message the Browns were selling him, and also they gave him a new contract, which doesn't hurt when they add more greenbacks. But to see how well he's playing, how dominant he is, and still not to be able to get that victory, I know how much he's hurting inside because I know how hard he's playing and what it takes. If you played in the NFL, you know what it takes to play a Sunday, the beatings that it takes, what you feel like getting out of bed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And you don't do that just because of the paycheck. You do that because of the love of the game, the love of the guys around you, and the chance to go win and win something meaningful. And to not have that is really difficult. And my hat's off to Myles for continuing to play at the level he's playing at. And I think sometimes fans say, you shouldn't play for stats. And I get that. But I think for a guy like Miles, where they're not in playoff contention, it's okay to have pride in working for that sack record, to use that as little goals within that defensive line room, within that defense, to get motivated, to play at their best, to do everything they can to get Miles more sacks, get that record, have high statistical ranking across the board on your defense. Like, I think those are all really good things to have as goals to kind of keep you motivated playing hard in a season that's kind of lost.
Joe, one question for me before we get to your meat company, because I got to talk about it. I love to cook. I want to talk about, so the Bears have suffered for a long time at the quarterback position, and you guys have some similar situations like that. We finally got Caleb with the first pick in the draft. Where do you think your quarterback position is sitting right now with Dylan, Shedeur, and Deshaun coming back? And what is the future of the quarterback for Cleveland?
Well, these are really important games here to finish the season for the Browns, because I think we've seen enough from Dylan Gabriel as a third-round pick to know that he's the guy we drafted. He's a guy that is a very reliable backup. He's a guy that can play in this league a long time, but probably not a guy that you're going to turn the franchise over to be your QB1. Shedeur, on the other hand, he came in and he really didn't have a lot of reps with the ones because he had a lot of learning to do during training camp and during the offseason and then the early part of the season. But since he's come in and taken over for Dylan, he's improved significantly every week. I'll say he had a breakout game last week. He's shown that the things that made him a really popular and great college quarterback, being able to rise to the occasion in those big moments, being able to find the open receiver in those big throws down the field when you got to have it, having ice water in your veins and being a man that's willing to step up and be a great leader when your team needs it, get what you need to get. I always think the great quarterbacks in the NFL, they always get you what you need when you need it, right? You need a field goal, they'll get you down there in a 2-minute drill and get you a field goal. You need a touchdown and it needs to take 1:30, they'll go take 1:29 off the clock and they'll get your touchdown. And really, in the last week, Shedeur has shown you that. And so to finish the season, because the Browns have 2 first-round draft picks next year, you got to remember, they need to find out if Shedeur is going to be the guy that they're going to build around through this next draft, or if they're going to draft a quarterback and they don't believe that Shedeur can be that franchise quarterback. So if he finishes really strong and continues to improve at the speed that he's improving, they may say, hey, we think we got our guy. I know he's a 5th-round pick, but he's going to be our franchise quarterback. Now they can build around him because they need a lot of help. They need tackles. They need receivers. They need weapons on offense. So this is as important of a 4-game stretch at quarterback as the Browns have had in a long time, because they feel like there's a chance that he might be our franchise quarterback, but he's got to improve it with steady improvement. He's got to show it with steady improvement to finish the season.
Good news, Chicago United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. All right, Tom, let the cat out of the bag. Six Springs Farm, Wisconsin, selling premium beef. It's Hall of Fame beef, of course. Hopefully nothing has to be sent to Canton for using that. And it's served on the menu at RPM Steak here in Chicago. Also, an outstanding restaurant, which I really want to see, and I am not aware of it until you sent me that text, Joe, but Azador Bastion, a Basque restaurant in Chicago. It's a restored townhouse on West Erie, named the number 13 best steakhouse in the world and number 1 in North America. So, Tom, we got to get there. But you're a cattleman now. What's going on, Joe? It's not enough. You got NFL Network, Browns work. You're coaching in Munich. You got 4 kids. What are you doing?
Yeah, we got a lot going on. So I bought a farm in 2012, and then I retired in 2018. And at the encouragement of my kids, they said, Dad, we want you to get some cows out on the farm. So I'm like, all right, great. So I bought 5 cows and a bull, and we were just going to raise our own food, right? Because we've always had a big garden. We try to raise as much of our own clean, healthy food for family and friends as we possibly can. And livestock was the next step. Turns out when you start raising your own beef, it's significantly better than the stuff that you can get in the grocery store. And so one of my buddies, who's James Beard chef in Wisconsin, said, hey man, this stuff is awesome, because he started selling it in his restaurant. He's like, you should really make this a little bit bigger. So we've been growing the herd since 2018. We started selling online in 2023 at hallofamebeef.com. And it's really expanded. We started with Angus, and now we're raising 100% full-blood Japanese Wagyu. We're raising American Wagyu. We're shipping direct to consumer. We got all these really cool holiday bundles that we put together for great gifts that you can send to people. We'll send it right to their house. We got all the value-added products. We're getting in grocery stores in the Milwaukee area. We're going into Sendix this week, 16 locations for our beef jerky, our beef sticks, summer sausage, hot dogs, brats, anything that you can make from a cow, we got it going on. And like you mentioned, we're in RPM steak right now. They're serving our Six Springs Farms Hall of Fame Wagyu 16-ounce Delmonico. The cool thing about having a small family farm that is my farm where we're raising all the animals is we can go to somebody like an Asador Bastion and they can say, hey, this is what we want you to do, and this is how we want you to raise some of these animals. So we're actually custom raising some old Wagyu cows in the Basque style, 7, 8, 9-year-old cows that have been sitting out eating grass for 8 years of their life. They're retired. And so now we're fattening them up, feeding them corn silage that we raise on the farm and non-GMO corn and getting them delicious. They've got this incredible, beautiful aged yellow fat on the outside. And so hopefully this spring we'll have some of those cows ready. We'll ship them down to Asador Bastion, and then maybe we can get together and break some bread and have some Hall of Fame beef Wagyu steaks there together down in Chicago. That'd be great.
A couple of ex-offensive linemen with the big Bears, Jay Hilgenberg for one of them. He is a huge protein consumer. So the first thing is I took your message that Jeff sent me and put it out there in a mass text to all the ex-offensive linemen, guys that I knew that were consuming a lot of protein, a lot of beef. And then I went through your website and looked at all the pictures of the quality meats that you have. And it's really sensibly priced, Joe, which is, kind of a thing that it draws your attention to it, and you're going, okay, I want to get some Christmas gifts for this person, and I want to make sure this guy is alerted to it. So it was kind of neat to learn about and read about and see all the different varieties of meats that you offered. And like I said, I'm a big cook, and I will be a regular orderer from your company, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You'll have to let me have your address. I'll send you a little care package for having me on the show. And the cool thing about this is it's really been a passion project for me. Playing the NFL, that was great. That kind of set me up. And now it's like I can do what I love. I can talk about football. I can go be on the farm and be a cattleman. I can raise, what my whole goal was, the best beef on planet Earth, right? So we went out, we got the highest, best genetics from Japanese Wagyu, from the black Wagyu, from the red Wagyu that I could find in the country. And then we've been building our herd with that incredible quality. We're trying to feed the best feed possible on planet Earth, because really it's about pride for me. When I put that steak in front of somebody, I want them to say, this is the best damn steak I've ever had in my life. And that's what makes me happy, right? But we also wanted to be sensible and say, all right, understanding that this is the highest quality steak you can buy on planet Earth, which is the Wagyu, right? We wanted to be a little bit lower in price than everybody else because we knew we wanted to give people an opportunity to try it and then be wowed, because we know once you try it once, you'll be a customer for life.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken,
I grew up in Brookfield, just like the Brookfield Zoo there in Illinois.
Yeah, Brookfield, but it's I looked it up. It's exactly 100 miles to Chicago.
That's right.
Kind of nice and neat number, right? So did you spend much time here? And you clearly love going out to eat and nice restaurants. I know you and I met actually at the Combine with Andrew Siciliano. We ate at Modita in Indianapolis. It was Andrew, Joe Thomas, Lance Zerline, and Colleen Wolfe. I know there were others, and I was just sitting there in awe watching these guys. Joe's a fun guy, number one, and a great conversationalist, as you can hear. But as a kid, did you ever come down to Chicago or spend any time in Chicago pre-professionally?
I did, yeah. We always loved coming down to Chicago. I got a bunch of great friends in Chicago. Obviously, the summers in Chicago are undefeated. Yeah. One of my college roommates was actually from the South Side. He went to St. Rita. He's a legend down there, Paul Standring. He played for us. He had a brother that played at Northwestern. He's got this boat club down in Chicago, Carefree Boat Club. So we go down there, get on the boat, go out to the playpen, have a great time. Eric Steinbach, Tony Pashos, a couple offensive linemen that were teammates of mine, so we would always get down there. And whenever we'd come back and play the Bears, because we played them a few times during the regular season, then we'd always play them in preseason. We'd go out to Gibson's, we'd go out to Ditka's, we always get a good steak. Yeah, my financial advisors are down there in Chicago, so a lot of great friends, a lot of good excuses to get down to the great city of Chicago.
Yeah, Eric and Tony are both great guys too. Tony, I think, is offensive line coach over at Providence, who won the state championship.
That's right.
And Eric Steinbach, he's also from Providence High School. Yep. And I went to a high school, Joliet Catholic, is only maybe 6 or 8 miles away. So I've known those guys since they've been kids, and still check in with them, and really good guys.
Great guys. That's one thing you got to say. All the people I've met from Chicago, just good old fashioned dudes, like hardworking. They just like to have a good time. They like to get out there and mix it up on the field. Yeah, a lot of great dudes there from that Chicago area. A lot of good football, a lot of good sports. Yeah. We used to poach them from Wisconsin. We'd poach all the good talent from the Chicagoland area as best we could, because we pulled out a lot of tough, hardworking dudes from there.
Did you grow up at any Chicago sports fan of any kind?
I was a loyal Brewers, Packers, Bucks fan, so the Chicago teams were the enemy.
Okay, that's fair.
and then as I was an Indians fan and now a Guardians fan, there's no love lost for the Cubs. So unfortunately, I would say I like the Bears, because actually the head trainer there, Andre Tucker, was my trainer in Cleveland, a great friend of mine. So I do cheer for the Bears. Don't tell my friends that are Packers, but I do like the Bears, but that's about where it stops.
Well, the interesting tie on this, to put it all together, your bronze bust has a home in Canton, Ohio on George Hallis Drive in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So, yeah, you can't escape that. That's for sure.
That's right.
Joe, great to talk to you. Thanks for all the time, and good luck with everything, and we'll spread the word on this outstanding project you have, Six Springs Farm in Wisconsin, Hall of Fame beef. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe.
Tom, I don't believe you've ever met Joe. It's impressive, isn't it?
Yeah. One thing I think people that don't know the background of Joe Thomas, he played over 10,000 consecutive reps at the left tackle position, the offensive line, one of the most physical positions in NFL football. And they have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders. When they play with a right-handed quarterback, they protect the quarterback's blind side. But for not missing a play in that long, of kind of a frustrating brand of football, because he didn't have winning seasons. And it's something that you're always fighting an uphill battle, but going out there, putting on your pads and showing all the rest of the teammates that come aboard and come along in his time there, that it's got to be as important to you as it is to him.
His first NFL game was at Pittsburgh, facing James Harrison and Lamar Woodley and those boys, those Pittsburgh Steelers teams of that age. Also, I just really enjoyed hearing some of his stories and his optimistic view on life and still giving back to football, coaching in Germany and whatnot. All right, so we talked about Myles Garrett in that conversation. We talked about Shedeur Sanders. Let's get your take now. One more time, how do we deal with this guy, Myles Garrett?
Well, I think you're always going to have more than one guy that's responsible for either hitting him, deflecting him, chipping him, protecting the backside of the left tackle or the left guard, wherever he wants to line up. You got to understand the type of defense that you're facing, and he can maybe look out of your picture, but he's not. He's just that's the style of defense. They refer to it as a wide nine. It's just the defensive ends play so far outside, so they have an aiming point with contain. And so, listen, you can't deny he's probably the best defensive player in the National Football League. Wearing number 95 won't be hard to find, and I think it just could be a lifetime, an opportunity of a lifetime for, Ozzie Trapillo and everybody else that gets a chance to hit him.
They got a good linebacker too. UCLA rookie Carson Schlesinger. Ben Johnson said, he thinks of Luke Kuechly when he sees him play. He was with Luke Kuechly as an assistant at Boston College at that time. We both spoke to Luke on a podcast last year, and very impressive career he's had, up for the Hall of Fame this year too. So that's very high praise for a rookie linebacker.
This guy's a lot bigger than Luke Kuechly. So when you want to put these guys side by side, Luke may look like his little brother. I like this guy from the combine. I like the way he played in college. And when you take a guy like that has such an important role in this defense, and he's a starter. So when you take into consideration that wide nine that we talked about, the amount of ground that middle linebacker has to cover basically from inside shoulder of each tackle, it's a big role. It's a big responsibility, and he's playing well.
All right, let's flip it because Shedeur Sanders nearly had a 400-yard game last week. He's completing less than 55% of his passes, but he's just being introduced in this starting role. This will be his fourth appearance. What are you seeing? What do the Bears have to brace themselves for with this young quarterback?
You know, I kind of think about where he was drafted and the frustration he must have felt when a lot of people told him that he was going to be a high draft choice and he wasn't. So he really didn't come in with any pressure because he was that first rounder and had to perform immediately. He had the opportunity to sit behind a couple guys this season and kind of watch the way they prepare, the way they perform. He's being well coached. And so I think that when you put him in the game, and what expectations did you really have for Shedeur Sanders? You're going to come in here because, Dylan Gabriel was not the guy that, you drafted him to be. They traded Joe Flacco away. So now Shedeur is doing kind of everything that he put on display in college. He's got athleticism. He's got arm strength. He's got self-confidence. And I think that's what you really want in a quarterback.
And he's got a running back. Quinshon Judkins is a load.
Yes.
Ohio State, 7 touchdowns. Getting over 700 yards rushing in his rookie season. We all liked him coming out. So what's the story on stopping him and Dylan Sampson in the running back realm?
Well, I mean, you're going to have to be in a fundamental tackling position because this is a bigger running back, and he doesn't shy away from contact. And I think that's the challenge of everybody when you're in these extreme cold weather games. Will it affect the running back or the tacklers more? And that will be evident early in this game because this is a heck of a running back. And I think when you have Shedeur Sanders, you have this running back, you have a couple dynamic receivers, and you got a tight end position that's stacked. So it's not, everybody's just got a hand in the responsibility. It's not all thrusted upon one person or one position.
Yeah, Harold Fannin Jr. is a guy to watch. They target him a bunch. He's excellent after the catch. He's a local kid from Canton, Ohio, and then went to Bowling Green to the NFL, and he's playing for his hometown Browns. Score big at your local Chevy dealer. The Chevy Silverado will take you through this season in style. Chevy Drive Chicago, official truck partner of the Chicago Bears. Before we wrap things up, Tom, keenly interested in this. The NFL voting on Wednesday at their virtual December league meeting to authorize 32 Equity, the league's collective investment vehicle, to partner to operate a professional flag football league, investing up to $32 million in that league, another signal of a long-term support of flag football. So a professional flag football league, I figured it was only a matter of time.
Well, Jeff, we've been going to NFL training camps now for 30-something years, and how many times you see a guy that just stands out at training camp? The kid has unbelievable ability, but he may be just a little bit too small. He may not make the roster. He may be in a position heavy, position that's heavy with the amount of guys they have. So there's guys all over the country, all over the world I think they'll flourish in this professional flag football league.
Yep. It's now offered at 38 states at the high school level, rapidly growing, not only for men, but for women. It'll be an interesting investment indeed, and surely one that will continue to grow. All right, Tom.
You know what? This hurt your football life by 30 years. If they had this when you were a youngster,
oh my God,
you might be stacking up at middle linebacker somewhere.
I still wouldn't be able to run, though. Sunday's game against Cleveland brought to you by the Salvation Army. Stop by a Red Kettle at Soldier Field to donate to this year's Kettle campaign. And dress warm. On Sunday, we want to hear you Sunday. Crowd, gotta have you. It's going to be big. Kevin Byard said so. Need your support. to stop these Cleveland Browns. That's going to wrap us up. Thanks to our special guest, former Browns left tackle and Pro Football Hall of Famer Joe Thomas. For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.